Seeing as it's 6:30, I'm going to go ahead and call this regular session of the Bloomington Common Council to order here on April 2nd. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Ruff.
Here.
Rallo.
Here.
Piedmont Smith.
Here.
Strasburg.
Here.
Daly.
Here.
Rosenbarger.
Here.
Asari.
Present.
All right.
Great, thank you. Councilmember Daly.
I move to suspend the rules to modify the agenda for tonight's meeting. I move items 4A through 4D, and then 7A be removed from the agenda. Yes,
Before we go any further.
I will
Thank you.
email it right now.
Thank you. So there's been a motion to suspend the rules to modify the agenda. On suspensions of rules, there's no debate allowed, but there are questions of clarification that are acceptable, and it needs a 2/3 majority to pass. Are there any clarification questions from council members regarding the motion? Councilmember Piedmont Smith.
I just wanted to clarify for the public, this is largely because of the storm that's heading our way and our attempts to try to get things done quickly. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Thank you.
Are there other clarification questions? Great. Could the clerk please call the roll on the motion to suspend the rules?
No, I don't have it yet. I'm sorry. Councilmember Ruff.
Yes.
Rallo.
Yes.
Piedmont Smith.
Yes.
Strasburg.
Yes.
Daly.
Yes.
Rosenbarger.
Yes.
Asari.
Yes.
Thank you.
Great, thank you. So as Councilmember Piedmont Smith said, this is largely, we're trying to make this meeting as quick as possible to make sure that we can all get home before the storm hits. So for our agenda summation, very quickly, I will sum up. We are going to have an approval of minutes. We are skipping the entire report section from council members, mayor, council committees, the public. We do have appointments to boards and commissions. We will have 2 appropriation ordinances for first reading that will be not be discussed. And then we will skip the resolution noted in the agenda, and our legislation for second readings include Ordinance 2025-09 to establish the Public Safety Answering Point Local Income Tax Fund, and then Appropriation Ordinance 2025-03 to transfer money into that fund, and then Ordinance 2025-10 to transfer debt service funds into the city's general fund. At that point, we will have a period of general public comment for items not on the agenda, so the public will still have a portion of the agenda set aside for them. Any notes on council schedule and adjournment, and I will be kind of keeping an eye on the weather map, and if it looks as though the storm is moving faster than I expect it to right now, we will adjourn as needed. So with that said, let's just go right into the approval of those minutes.
I move that the minutes from November 20th, 2024 be adopted.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second to approve the minutes. Are there council member questions about the minutes or comments? Thank you. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Great, thank you. Those minutes passed unanimously. Next, appointments to boards and commissions. Does anybody have appointments to boards and commissions? Who's supposed to do that?
Oh, I can. Or Courtney can. Sorry.
Which one of you wants to do it? Councilmember Daly.
Thank you. For the Community Advisory on Public Safety Commission, I move to appoint Karshan Nair to seat C5, Birgit Newman to seat C7, and Kale Ulrey to seat C8.
Second.
Great, thank you. We have 3 folks being appointed to the CAPS Commission. Do any council members have any questions about those appointments? Okay, seeing none. All in favor of those 3 appointments to the CAPS Commission, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you, that passes unanimously. A big thank you goes out to Karshan Nair, Birgit Newman, and Cale Ulrey for their service and their interest in serving Bloomington. Thank you very much for that. Next, we will move right into legislation for first readings.
I move that appropriation ordinance 2025-04 be introduced and read by the clerk by title and synopsis only.
All those in favor of introduction of appropriation ordinance 2025-04, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Thank you. Will the clerk please read?
Appropriation ordinance 2025-04 to transfer from the general fund to various departments within the general fund and to the Economic Development Local Income Tax Fund, the Park and Recreation General Fund, the Parking Meter Fund, the Parking Facilities Fund, the Motor Vehicle Highway Fund, the Alternative Transportation Fund, the Fleet Maintenance Fund, and the Sanitation Fund. The synopsis is as follows. Appropriation Ordinance 2025-04 appropriates various transfers of funds within the general fund from the Human Resources Department to various departments and from the general fund to various funds and various departments to correct the personnel budgets and align with the 2025 salary ordinance.
Great. Thank you very much.
I move that appropriation ordinance 2025-05 be introduced and read by the clerk by title and synopsis only.
Thank you. A motion and a second to introduce appropriation ordinance 2025-05. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Thank you. Will the clerk please read?
Appropriation Ordinance 2025-05 to amend and transfer appropriations in the Alternative Transportation Fund, Cumulative Capital Development Fund, and Park and Recreation General Fund for expenditures not otherwise appropriated. Synopsis is as follows. Appropriation Ordinance 2025-05 adjusts the 2025 city budget to de-appropriate funds originally included for capital expenses that are now funded through the 2024 GO bond, reallocates parks and recreation expenditures covered by ARPA, and increases appropriations to the Council Sidewalk Committee and the Public Works Community Crossings Matching Grant. It also corrects the funding source for the Parks and Recreation Department's Zamboni rental.
Great. Thank you very much. Those 2 appropriation ordinances will be heard for second reading, and that will serve as the public hearing in our next regularly scheduled session in 2 weeks from tonight on April 16th. Now we can move on to second readings.
I move ordinance 2025-09 be introduced and read by the clerk by title and synopsis only.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded to hear ordinance 2025-09. Those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Thank you. Will the clerk please read?
Ordinance 2025-09 to establish the Public Safety Answering Point Local Income Tax Fund. The synopsis is as follows. Ordinance 2025-09 establishes the Public Safety Answering Point Local Income Tax Fund to ensure that revenue from the PSAP lit is separately maintained and used exclusively for the joint city-county dispatch center as required by Indiana law.
Great. Thank you.
I move ordinance 2025-09 be adopted.
Thank you. And I believe that we have Controller McClellan here to present on this item of legislation.
Good evening, Council. Controller McClellan. Thank you for your time tonight and for being here. I'd like to give you a brief and clear explanation of Ordinance 2025-09, which creates a new fund for public safety operations, specifically for our community's 911 dispatch center. What is this ordinance about? The ordinance establishes a separate fund called the Public Safety Answering Point Local Income Tax Fund, or PSAP lit fund for short. This fund will be used exclusively to support the Monroe County Central Emergency Dispatch Center, our community's 911 hub that answers calls and dispatches emergency services throughout the county, except for Indiana University, which has its own system. And why is this necessary? Since 2016, a portion of our local income tax has been set aside for public safety. Part of that money is meant just for the dispatch center. Until now, that money was tracked separately on paper or on a spreadsheet, but kept in the same fund as the other public safety income. This ordinance simply moves that money into its own fund as required by state law. Doing so makes things cleaner, easier to track, and ensures that money is used for its intended purpose, supporting our 911 services. And how does this affect the budget? There's no new spending and no fiscal impact. This is just a bookkeeping update. At the start of this year, we have $2.4 million set aside specifically for the dispatch center in cash. We will continue to add to that cash balance throughout the year as we get distributions from the state. So those revenues and that cash balance will be placed in the new PSAP Lit Fund. What can PS Lit funds be used for? The original Public Safety Local Income Tax Fund still exists and can be used for other public safety needs like police and fire services, ambulance and emergency medical response, public safety communications and 911 systems, and pensions for police, fire, and other safety personnel. So how do the PSAP Lit funds come to the city? The state does a distribution of all the local income tax funds to the county once a month, and then the county distributes that to all the different units, including the city, once a month. I also wanted to touch on the definition of public safety. The state statute requires that PS Lit funds be used to expend money for a purpose described in Indiana Code 6-3.6-2-14. And this refers to the definition of public safety. The definition of public safety is police and law enforcement, fire protection, emergency ambulance services, emergency medical services, emergency action and probation services, including communications, pensions, and training associated with these services. And so it is possible that something like a homeless shelter or a re-entry program, to receive PS Lit, it has to be operated by a police or fire department, or has to be part of a probation service, a probation department, or is directly tied to public safety operations in some way to qualify as a PS Lit expenditure. I appreciate your attention. I'll take any questions that you have.
Great, thank you. Do council members have any questions? Councilmember Piedmont Smith.
Yes, thank you very much. So you were just reviewing what could be the use of funds through public safety, local income tax.
Yeah.
That's not the PSAP. Would the emergency action services, would that potentially include non-police community emergency response, like the kind that's offered through Stride Center?
I think that the non-police portion of it would maybe possibly make it not qualify for PS Lit. We would have to, I'm not an attorney, and the attorneys would look into that. But off the top, it seems like it does have to be tied to police and fire. If any attorney would like to hop in and okay. Margie says that she agrees. Corporation Counsel Margie Rice would agree with that. You know, just from that summary kind of information, yeah, that it would have to be tied to a police or fire or probation department or courts or the jail. Like, it would have to be tied to that operation, be operated, be part of their operations.
Thank you. I have other questions, but I can wait.
I want to follow up on that for just a second. So if a non-police response was like a department within our own police department, then that would qualify because it was
Yes.
with our own police department. But if it was operated by an agency not within one of our public safety departments, then it wouldn't qualify for PS Lit fund.
Correct.
Okay, great, thank you. Are there other questions from council members about this item of legislation? Councilmember Piedmont Smith, go for your second round.
the PSAP funds currently come off the top of what we get from the PS Lit. Does the payment for PSAP come, does the city of Bloomington handle the total payment for PSAP, or is some of it paid from the county? Like, that off-the-top amount, is that all administered by the city government, or?
That is all administered by city government. That amount is all
Okay.
administered by city government. Mhm.
Great.
Thank you. Are there other questions? All right, seeing none for now, let's go ahead and go to the public. If there's any member of the public that is interested in commenting on ordinance 2025-09, please make your way to the podium. You would have up to 3 minutes after stating your name. If you are on Zoom watching, if you could use the reactions tab to raise your hand or send a chat message to the host if you're interested in making a public comment. I don't see anybody moving here in chambers, but we're just going to give a minute to anybody who's online to raise a hand. Nobody online so far. I'm seeing head shakes. Okay, thank you very much. That brings us back to council for any additional questions or final comments. Do any council members have additional questions or final comments on ordinance 2025-09? Councilmember Piedmont Smith.
I just want to thank the controller for bringing this forward. It makes perfect sense to separate these funds.
Thank you. I'll second that. I hope that it will save the controller's office a little bit of time and energy in terms of making sure that expenditures come from the right place and go to the right things. So if there are no other further comments, will the clerk please call the roll on ordinance 2025-09?
Try that again. Councilmember Wallow?
Yes.
Piedmont Smith?
Yes.
Strasburg?
Yes.
Daley?
Yes.
Rosenberger?
Yes.
Asari?
Yes.
Ruff? Yes. Thank you.
Great, thank you. That passes unanimously 8-0 and 7. Are there 7 of us? 2, 3. There are 7 of us, thank you. Oh, my goodness. It's evening. Next.
I move ordinance 2025-10 be introduced. I'm sorry.
Appropriation ordinance.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah,
Which one?
the appropriation ordinance, 2025-03.
Oh. My cut and paste didn't work. I move appropriation ordinance 2025-03 be read and introduced by the clerk by title and synopsis only.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second to introduce appropriation ordinance 2025-03. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Thank you. Will the clerk please read?
Yes, appropriation ordinance 2025-03 to transfer revenue and appropriations from the PS Lit Fund to the PSAP Lit Fund. The synopsis is as follows. Appropriation ordinance 2025-03 authorizes the transfer of revenues and revenue and appropriations related to dispatch operations from the Public Safety Local Income Tax Fund to the newly established Public Safety Answering Point Local Income Tax Fund.
Thank you.
I move appropriation ordinance 2025-03 be adopted.
Great, thank you. And I believe that we have Controller McClellan here again to present.
Controller McClellan here again. This is a follow-up to the ordinance that you just passed to create the PSAP Lit Fund. This ordinance doesn't create any new spending. It simply moves the existing 911 dispatch budget and its funding into the newly created fund. It transfers $2.48 million in cash from PS Lit to PSAP Lit funds. It also moves the 2025 dispatch center budget just over $4.4 million into that same fund. We will also transfer all of the expenses that have already happened in that budget will also be carried over, and so it will just be a move that doesn't affect police or fire budgets. It doesn't disrupt payroll or services. It's just clean accounting transfer and nothing more, and I respectfully ask for your approval.
Great, thank you. Are there questions from council members? All right, seeing none, I have a question. I just want to clarify that we're we have the 2.4 million in cash, but then our 2025 expenses exceed that. And that's because earlier you said, is it monthly that deposits get made into this?
Yes.
Can you just talk about that for just a second?
Yeah, the cash flow for the entire year will cover the expenses. And we also, we budgeted this fund to use some of those cash reserves. So cash reserves plus the monthly cash flow are more than enough to cover the dispatch center expenses.
Okay, great. Do you know off the top of your head what is the yearly revenue expected from the PSAP?
I think it is in the packet. I think it's the sort of the landscape page that starts with like a DLGF, certified income tax, and I think it says on that page 2.7 million.
Okay.
And the Monroe County also contributes to pays for some of the dispatch budget as well. From their they have a revenue source called E911 fund, and it comes from telephone service providers. It goes to the state. It's a tax for those communications, and it comes to every county, and it's used for dispatch.
Okay. Thank you.
Just getting into the weeds a little bit. I don't know as much about that, but our funding is PSAP lit, and that is what we're going to spend.
Okay, thanks. Are there any other questions that came up? Great, let's go ahead and go to the public, and I do want to acknowledge that this public comment time serves as the public hearing for this appropriation ordinance. So if anybody would like to make a comment on appropriation ordinance 2025-03, if you could make your way to the podium. If you're online, you can go ahead and use the reactions tab to raise your hand or send a chat message to the host. Again, I don't see anybody in chambers making any movements, but we'll just hold for a minute to see if anybody pops up online who would like to make a comment. Are there any hands raised yet? Okay, great, thank you. We'll return to council then for any additional questions or council member comments. Seeing none, I'll once again thank the controller for trying to smooth things over and make our accounting a little bit easier in that office. So will the clerk please call the roll on appropriation ordinance 2025-03?
Councilmember Piedmont-Smith?
Yes.
Stossberg?
Yes.
Daley?
Yes.
Rosenbarger?
Yes.
Asari?
Yes.
Ruff?
Yes.
And Rallo.
Yes.
Great, thank you. That passes 7-0. We are moving right along here through our agenda. Next.
Okay, now I move ordinance 2025-10 be introduced and read by the clerk by title and synopsis only.
Second.
Thank you. It's been moved to read ordinance 2025-10. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Will the clerk please read?
Ordinance 2025-10, an ordinance transferring remaining debt service funds cash balance to the city's general fund. The synopsis is as follows. Ordinance 2025-10 authorizes the transfer of remaining funds from a dormant debt service fund to the city's general fund in accordance with Indiana Code 36185B2 and 36185.1, ensuring compliance with state law and proper financial management.
I move ordinance 2025-10 be adopted.
Second.
Great. And again, we have Controller McClellan here to present.
Again, everybody, I'm presenting ordinance 2025-10, which proposes a housekeeping step to close out old, unused bond funds and move the remaining balances into the city's general fund. This is a move that's been recommended by our financial advisors and is fully in line with state law. The city has 4 debt service funds that are no longer active because the bonds have been completely paid off many years ago. The leftover balances total about $140,647. The ordinance closes out those funds and transfers the balances to the general fund. This does not create any new spending. It's just cleaning up and consolidating funds. into our operating fund, the general fund. State law allows us to move leftover money from closed-out bond funds into the general fund, but not into the rainy day fund, the general fund. And we also ran all of this by our bond counsel that we have. They also agreed that it should go to the general fund. Efficiency, transparency, cleans up the books. I respectfully ask for your approval again tonight. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Are there questions from council members on this ordinance? Councilmember Piedmont Smith.
Yes, I just had a question on the cross-fund report that you included with your memo, where it gives the balances and the transactions on these 4 funds for 2025. And I'm wondering, why are there any debits or credits on these funds since they're inactive?
The debit, there was a small balance in that fund going all the way back to when that bond was paid off. And over the years, bond funds always accrue a little bit of interest. They always earn interest on the balance that's there. So over the years, there's been just a very small deposit every single month into that fund because it is a bond fund, and that interest is in your debits. And then the credits are correct. They are manual journal entries that have been like corrections to those interest receipts. They're not actual expenditures. They're just showing up because they are like reducing the amount of interest that was put in that bond fund. Somebody made a mistake every month sometime. And so that expenditure is just a correction, not an expense. We have not paid anybody or anything out of these funds for a very, very long time.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Are there other questions? Okay, I have one. What happens to these funds now that they're empty?
Well, that fund is just a name. It's just a word like on a spreadsheet. It's just a number and a name in our financial system. It doesn't exist as a bank account. It doesn't exist anywhere except for in the general ledger, which is just a list, that we generate. So what happens to it is that at the end of starting in 2026, we'll be able to delete that fund, and sort of, if we ever need to use that number again, we could reuse that number. That name and that number of that fund will no longer show up on our financial reports. But we will report on that fund for 2025. That fund existed on January 1. We will show a transfer of its cash balance into the general fund, and we will report that as a closed, and then we're closing that out after we close fiscal year 2025.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I guess I just want to follow up and say I'm asking that question because we also just had an ordinance where we created a fund. And so I'm just trying to understand if this ordinance actually deletes the fund, or whether these were created by ordinance at some point. And so then this ordinance kind of undoes that process.
To address that, a lot of ordinances that create funds have a section in them that say this fund will remain a fund in perpetuity until it is closed by ordinance. So it remains a fund in perpetuity until the fiscal body decides that we don't need it.
Okay, great, thank you. Other questions? Okay, great. Let's go ahead and go to public comment on ordinance 2025-10. If you're interested in making a public comment on ordinance 2025-10, please make your way to the podium. State your name for the record, and then you'll have up to 3 minutes. If you are online, please use the reactions tab to raise your hand or send a chat message to the host. And we do have somebody here in chambers, so let's go ahead and start there.
Okay, my name's Mark Haggerty. I've come to ask you, as our public officials, to support us against this encroaching fascism and oligarchy. I'm asking you to represent us against Trump and these people.
Specifically about ordinance 2025-10.
Oh, no, this is public comment.
Oh, this is public comment on the specific ordinance that we're talking about
I
right now.
misunderstood.
Okay, you have a general
Let
comment?
me sit down.
We'll do that next. Thank you. Did anybody raise their hand on Zoom for comments on ordinance 2025-10? Okay, great. And I don't see anybody else in chambers, so we'll return to council. Does anybody have any closing comments or questions for the controller? Seeing none, I'll once again thank the controller for trying to clean up our bookkeeping and keep things tidy. So will the clerk please call the roll on ordinance 2025-10?
Councilmember Strasburg,
Yes.
Daley,
Yes.
Rosenbarger,
Yes.
Sorry,
Yes.
Ruff,
Yes.
Rallo,
Yes.
Piedmont Smith.
Yes.
Thank you, and that passes 7-0. And now we will move on to the period of public comment for this evening. Because we did modify the agenda, we just have this one period for general public comment where you can comment on items not on our agenda. So if you're interested in making a comment about something not on the agenda, now you can make your way to the podium and state your name for the record, and you'll have up to 3 minutes. And if you're on Zoom this evening, go ahead and raise your hand using the reactions tab or send a chat message to the host. And we'll go ahead and start here in chambers, and you can reintroduce yourself, and then you'll have 3 minutes.
My name's Mark Haggerty. I want to ask you, my public officials, or the county officials, everyone I can get hold of, to represent us, to meet with us, the people, to be instructed by us, the people, to have these public meetings for this encroaching fascism and talk about what we can do to resist who's going to hide Anne Frank, who in this community is going to get disappeared. How are we going to resist it? Now, I don't think it's acceptable for the state police to be having snipers on a building and have their guns aimed this way. Those rifles carry 4 miles. And those aren't snipers. Those are intimidators. Snipers hide. Snipers can't be seen. Those guys up there on those buildings, they're intimidators for Trump and this encroaching oligarchy, this encroaching fascism. And I want you, this one-party government, to come out and start representing us very vocally against this. That's what I want out of my government now. I don't want to mess around anymore with all the little things that led up to this. But we are not standing up in the way that we need to, and we're going to have to start now. So, anyway, I know that you're my friends in that project. It's nice to see it.
Thank you. Is there anybody on Zoom with their hand raised wanting to make a public comment? No, not at this time. Okay. Are there other people in chambers who would want to make a public comment? Go ahead and state your name for the record. Sign in too. There should be a sign-in sheet right there.
It's already there.
Wonderful.
Already
And then you'll have up to 3 minutes after you introduce yourself.
My name is Gerhard Glom. I'm here just to say a word of gratitude. There were some lovely folks who this winter made the emergency winter shelter happen. And I want to express my gratitude for the 2 churches downtown that made their space available to people who are unhoused in this community. I want to mention a few names. Pastor Sarah Lynn from First Christian, Caleb Hoagland, who worked tirelessly to organize, to make this happen. 2 names that are well familiar in this building. Carrie Thompson, the mayor, Isabel Piedmont Smith, helped out, one as shift leader many times, and I really appreciate it. There was an incredible IU student, Allie Jewell. She was the volunteer coordinator, one of our students. There were some fantastic volunteers. High school students, college students, young adults, old fuddy-duddies like myself. All of this was done on a shoestring. Snacks, coffee, tea, hot chocolate, gloves, socks were all provided on a shoestring. So I'm very grateful for all those folks who made this happen. I want to say a word of caution perhaps about next year. From talking to people, I think there might be a sense among some people in this community that this is a one-time event. I'm not sure. I know for sure next January is going to happen. I know for sure that it's going to be cold in January. The other thing I think I know is, as the social security system, the social safety net, is being systematically unraveled at various levels of the government, I can only see the demand for these kinds of services grow. In particular, it appears to me that the Administration for Community Living has been dismantled or is about to be totally dismantled. That's the organization that helps coordinate and probably also fund homes for the aging and adults with mental disabilities. If those funds disappear, where are these folks going to go? My guess would be next November, December, January, when it's cold, we will be hosting a shelter like that again, and I will be grateful for all the good folks who are going to help out. Thank you so much.
Has anybody raised their hand on Zoom to speak? Okay. Next here in chambers, please sign in, introduce yourself, and you'll have up to 3 minutes.
Yes, hi, my name is Erin Aquino, and I'm the director of Exodus Refugee Immigration here in Bloomington, an independent nonprofit that serves refugees. We're currently located within a district of Councilwoman Piedmont Smith, and next month we're actually moving into the First United Methodist Church, and we'll be under Councilwoman Zulick's district. Exodus Refugee has operated in Bloomington since October 2021, and we started by welcoming the first Afghan refugees who fled the Afghan evacuation of August 2021. If you don't know, refugees are people who fled their country for fear of persecution based on race, nationality, religion, membership of a social group, or political opinion, and they're unable to return to their home country for fear of retaliation and death. Since our inception here in Bloomington, we have welcomed close to 500 refugees from over 20 different countries who speak over 20 different languages. Overall, we serve immigrants of humanitarian concern. So to be clear, not people who are coming here for economic gain, but people who are coming here to live. Refugees are the most thoroughly vetted immigrant coming to the United States. No one goes through more background checks, screenings, interviews. They're interviewed by every major federal agency, Department of State, Homeland Security. They wait years and sometimes more than a decade to get here. Including in part of these processes are Cubans, Haitians, Venezuelans, Nicaraguans, and Ukrainians who are allowed to enter the United States through a legal process called a parole protection program. In short, everyone that comes to these programs are here legally, despite what we may hear in the news. Exodus provides wraparound services for these populations by welcoming them at the airport, providing housing, getting connected to education, getting medical care, and securing employment. Refugees quickly become self-sufficient in our community through a process which has led to the 45-year success of the United States Refugee Admissions Program. And unfortunately, since January 20th of this year, we have not welcomed a single refugee in the country. Trump and his bigoted administration are trying to revoke the legal status of Cubans, Haitians, Venezuelans, Nicaraguans, and we fear the some 280,000 Ukrainians we have welcomed. We have spoken to many parolees who are living in fear of deportation for having done nothing wrong but to come to this country to live. We call on our Bloomington elected officials to continue to break from these racist policies of our state and this presidential administration and voice their support for refugees and our Afghan and Ukrainian allies. Please make an official recognition of World Refugee Day on June 20th and partner with us to support and welcome refugees here in Bloomington. We commend the mayor and the city for not collaborating with ICE, and we ask you to continue to protect the rights of immigrants in our community. We ask for financial support to keep our doors open to serve the 500 immigrants that are here in our community. And we look forward to maintaining a regular presence here at the public comment to help raise awareness about our immigrant neighbors. Thank you all for your attention tonight.
Is there anybody who's raised their hand on Zoom?
No
Is there
hands are
anybody
raised.
else in chambers who would like to make a public comment this evening? Okay, seeing none, we will bring that period of public comment to a close, and this meeting has gone very quickly, which is good this evening. Hopefully, we can all get home safe. The note about council schedule, just a couple things. First of all, I meant to do this during the agenda summation, but this evening we have skipped reports, and one of those reports was supposed to be the annual report of the Bloomington Redevelopment Commission. There is a state statute that has some time requirements for that report, and so I want to acknowledge for the minutes that we have received the annual report for the Bloomington Redevelopment Commission. The written report was published in this packet tonight, and the verbal report will be given to council at an upcoming meeting when staff is available again. Our meeting next week is a special session. It is a deliberation session. We will be talking about budget priorities for 2026, believe it or not. And our next regularly scheduled session will be 2 weeks from tonight on April 16th. Are there any other items of note from council members? Councilmember Piedmont Smith.
There's a council sidewalk committee meeting next Tuesday, the 8th, at 12 o'clock in the McCloskey room.
Great, thank you. Any other schedule announcements? Councilmember Daly?
Thank you. I had announced last week that I was going to have a constituent meeting this Saturday. I am postponing that because we are having the hands-off protest happening noon to 4 at the courthouse. I'm going to go to that instead, so I hope everybody who was planning on coming to my constituent meeting, which I know was so many of you, I hope you're all going to just meet me there instead, and we'll hang out. And then we'll have another constituent meeting some other time. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Any other announcements for the good of the order? Right before I adjourn, I just want to say, ready yourselves. We're supposed to get a storm, and maybe even more impactfully, we're scheduled to maybe get up to 10 inches of rain, depending on which weather forecast you read. So if you haven't been checking the weather, y'all need to go check your favorite weather station and make preparations as may be necessary for yourself and your family. So thank you very much. Everybody stay safe, and meeting is adjourned.